You're running a multi-7-figure online business. Congratulations. And by now, you might have a finance team, a marketing team, a sales team, every single piece in place to continue that business's growth. There's one giant problem that's costing you millions a year. It's yourself. There's no performance department. Screw health optimization, screw those coaches, meal preps, trainers. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your output. Right now, you don't know how to measure it. You're running on Zins and coffee every single day. You're crashing at 2 p.m. Your back's cooked because you're sitting in a chair and you're in front of the laptop and your shoulders are shrugged over. All of these things are bottlenecks, and they're bottlenecks that you're not solving for. And maybe you've tried. Maybe you've tried going to a physio and getting some exercises, but where has that gotten you? The problem is still there. You still have to eat, sleep, and train every single day, and those are the biggest costs on your business. How do I know this? Well, my name is Ian, co-founder of Optimability, and we've installed performance departments for some of the top internet money founders in the space, completely changing their runways. This is by far the highest ROI infrastructure that you can install as a founder in 2026, and it's so little known, but it has such an enormous advantage that I'm sure you can take away something from this video that you can immediately apply and see your output increasing step by step. So today we're going to go over the entire performance department, what it means, how to install it, what are the stages, what are the steps. I'm going to give you all the sauce. This is not a program. I'm not a coach. I'm not here to show you how to make a meal plan or how to start training or any of that bullshit. None of that is buying back your time, and none of that is focused around your output. People have it mixed up. Every single person is focusing on health optimization. That is not the white space. It's not about wellness. We're not going to the gym. We're not training to build up and be healthy. That's for normies. That's bullshit. We're doing everything in our business, if that's meditation, eating clean, training, to enhance our output, enhance what we're putting out in the world. And that's what we need to optimize for, because the biggest cost for founders is unforeseen and unseen biological bottlenecks that are killing you right now. So let's better identify the problem that nobody is talking about. Well, for founders doing $100K to $500,000 a month, there's the DIY burden of health, which is trying to glue together somebody to do all your cooking, finding the information, doing your own blood draws. And in total, we've done the math multiple times. This costs you around $5 to $7 grand a month, plus around 40 to 80 hours of just managing and trying to coordinate all these things. The problem is that the entire model is so segmented that just spending the time, attention, and detail trying to learn one aspect of the service completely takes away from the end result of putting together a decode, design, and deploy framework, which is ultimately the system that's going to remove those bottlenecks for you. We have a name for this. It's called shadow burnout, and around 85% of founders right now have at least one immense biological bottleneck. That could be anything from metabolic upregulation, mitochondrial inefficiency, detoxification problems, hormonal imbalances, toxins, heavy metals, the monkey brain always being turned on, not being able to control it. All of these things are happening for every single founder right now to some degree. And these things slip, and they happen just from existing, just from ordering Uber Eats or skipping those gym sessions or not having the right chair or not knowing what to test for your blood work. They can go unseen, and that's what's affecting normies all over the world. People are at the end result of their monkey brains being turned on. That's why obesity is such a problem. But we're not here to talk about normies. We need to implement an infrastructure that removes us from ever going back to that old lifestyle, and that involves solidifying output to the utmost ability. Now, there's a couple more solutions here besides just DIY. Obviously, you can integrate trainers and meal prep and all that stuff, but again, you're the one doing that. There's not a system, there's no department solving those things uniquely curated to you. And out of the 100 clients that I've seen, I'll tell you one truth, and that truth is that nobody has the exact same problems. The reason why health protocols fall on their face is because they're templatized as an info product. And that's how those creators and people scale, like Brian Johnson, for example. The problem is that health is not DIY. There's nobody that has the exact same genetic, blood work, or whatever profile that is going on in your body right now. So the bottlenecks are different. You can't standardize an info product into a system. It doesn't work. It needs to be personalized for the founder, because that's what their worth is equivocal to. That's where their output needs are. If you look at it objectively, just look at the end revenue driver for that one person. And if the exact same amount is being implemented towards increasing their output by removing these biological bottlenecks, imagine the ability for the founder and the business to grow exponentially just from that decision. And the last option that doesn't work is function health, superpower, and all these fancy logistics and dashboards that leave people oftentimes more confused than what they know what to do with. It's cool waking up and getting 100 sleep score, but what does that actually mean? What does that equate to? How do we know that that's a revenue driving a health metric? We don't. It just exists, and biomarkers and data are just scattered everywhere. This is the moment where we have to step away and identify everything that I've talked about up until this moment as an output variable, not a health variable. It's a health variable for people. This is an output metric. All the decisions that you do, your energy, everything is a consequence of your biology. You are right now listening to this video, breathing, interpreting, analyzing, your eyes are firing at 5,000 times. Like, there's so many things going on. And all those outputs that are happening, they are directly correlated to your business. There's no founder in which you can tell me that you can fully remove them. And if you just disassociate biologically from the founder, the business is going to be in the same spot. It's not, it's tied together. It's a symbiotic relationship. And right now, founders are not even close to operating at their ceiling. We've seen people operating at an average median before they start the program of 20 to 30%. And this is all because of the tie-ups in those biological bottlenecks that I was talking to you about. If you're curious exactly what those are or who the people that we've worked with are, I've actually linked a free black book down below, so that way you can see the full picture view of exactly what I'm talking about, put some more statistics in front of you, and just figure out exactly what your output bottlenecks might be and how to identify them and target them and take the first steps. A really good way to think about this is imagine installing a sales team and they're only functioning at 30%. That would be intolerable. The truth is, it's happening with you every single day, but because you don't have a system or a way to measure it, it just goes unseen. It goes and it gets projected. The founder wakes up, they're groggy, they're tired, they'll drive their sports car around, and then the next day starts, and then the next day starts. And slowly what's happening is your likelihood of success is shrinking as your high output years are also shrinking, but you can't and you don't know what's going on. You might have some indications from your dashboard saying, oh, this and this health metric are off, but then there's no system that's constantly uplifting, that's removing these biological bottlenecks for the highest valuable asset in the founder. And we haven't even started mentioning what the potential startup valuation market could see if the founder was fully optimized, right? Like the growth trajectory, etc. But just note that it's an immediate drag and it's a pressing problem that needs to be solved right now. So let's get into the sauce. What is a performance department? A performance department consists of three major things. The first layer is decoding. Now, decoding is just like in business. Everything happens with data. So we're doing a full body interpretation. With us, it looks like a 83 marker biometric blood panel, and we have access to a provider under my name as I have my provider's license. So our kits get shipped to the clients, and our head of mission control coordinates a phlebotomist to come and pull the bloods in home. So the founder never has to leave the workspace or the home. The second layer is a stool test, which interprets the microbiome and finds any parasites or inefficiencies with nutrient absorption. And then we have the organic acids test, which takes a look at the ATP blocks or the mitochondrial efficiency cycle, seeing how well are you taking calories and producing that into raw energy. And then last but not least, we also have a DEXA scan. The DEXA scan gives us a full composition breakdown where we take a look at biometrics, better analysis for seeing if the one side of the body is off, visceral fat, and all those things. That data happens in sequential blocks, so they're in phases. And the first phase consists of a DEXA scan and blood work, and then the protocols are deployed. So we went from decoding now into design. With design, there's several elements here that we need to address, and they're all of equal weight. This is what people get wrong. We have sleep, nutrition, fitness, and supplementation. Those are the key ones, but we also have several ones like purification, so detoxing and getting rid of environmental toxins. We do have an HQ audit where we'll look at everything in the home or in the office and make sure that it's optimized and that it's not bleeding toxins into the founder, for example. So those are the design elements which are based on the data. And finally, the last layer of the performance department is deploy. This is where we'll have a pro chef curate and make the meals based on the data for that founder and to deliver them straight to the office or to the home. That's just one aspect of the deploy. And all of this is integrated in Slack. So the whole team, doctor, everyone goes and is now a fully curated performance department for that founder. But all of it really depends. Like it depends on the bottlenecks observed. Some people might come into the program with very high visceral fat on their DEXA scan. They might not be able to absorb sugars if they're given like a fruit till noon type of diet plan. So obviously that needs to be taken into account as to how the meal plan is designed. Workout windows, that influences the meal plan as well. So the chef has to deliver meals at a certain time. So there's so many, there's thousands of decisions here which can influence the way that this process is set up. But those are the three main layers, and that is the core centerpiece of the performance department here at Optimobility. So what does this actually mean? What do all these things actually equate to? The biggest noticeable impact on this is removing biological friction points in the founder's day-to-day. The biggest ones are those 2 p.m. afternoon crashes. Those are not a result of not consuming another coffee or another Zyn at that time. That is a core problem that the body can't sustain or produce energy at that threshold period, especially for young men between the ages of 20 to 30. That needs to be a center point. And when that happens consistently, that drags into different parts of the day and it spreads like a viral disease. That is one of the biggest things, and that's actually solved by being able to implement and curate the internal biology in a way where it's producing energy constantly. It's now uplifted, it's metabolically upregulated, like thermodynamics, right? It's gonna take a lot to get an ice cube into steaming water right away. But if the water is in a lukewarm state, if it's just like tap water, it's much easier to boil, it's much easier to heat up. The body works in the exact same way. The individuals that have found a lot of success in business in a lot of instances are actually ex-athletes in college or high school. And one thing they'll do is they'll become sedentary, they'll sit, and they lose their mitochondria, their insulin sensitivity goes to the gutter, they're holding a lot of fat around their arteries and their gut lining so they can't absorb nutrients because they're just ordering Uber Eats, and this slowly drags you down and it makes you more like a slug. It makes you like a doomer. You're waking up and you're running this multi-7-figure business, but you're a complete gooner because you don't realize and you're negligent to all of these things in your biology holding you back. So it's our job to identify them and to slowly remove them. The other thing is inflammation. This is the #1 cause of cancer. I don't know if people have identified that yet, but the body's inability to repair itself and to constantly be fighting itself is what causes cancer cells to continue to mutate and to gather and increase cortisol. And this removes you and enables your monkey brain. When your monkey brain is active and thriving and firing, it's removing your zone of genius. And you've actually built the business in the zone of genius without empowering the monkey brain too much. But as money comes in, the survival mechanism goes down because now you can take a break and you're left sitting with this corroded biology that isn't producing energy, that isn't vitalizing you. You're not vital, it's not in your face, you're like slugging through the day. And that needs to be removed. Inflammation needs to be killed at the source. If that's in the stomach because of a parasite, if that's because the arteries are too corroded, if that's because there's not enough vitamin D, which is essentially like the body's coroner and nurse, all in one, if there's not healthy omegas, if the mitochondria isn't firing effectively, the things that make us move, the things that make us think, the processes there, they're like entire Porsche production lines. You know, Porsche isn't just solving for lap times. They're looking at every single aspect of when the car is touched to maximize COGS, to maximize employee turnover, all these things. And then they're obviously looking at the end result of how many cars they produced. But the reason why I'm saying that is because your body and mine is doing that so many times with so many different things so that you can breathe, move, think, execute, take action on whatever. And these things are the core reasons why we're able to create, why we're able to have output. But as we get older, these start to get clogged up with drags, grease, problems, inflammation from the external world because we're not taking the steps that we need to take care of ourselves and slowly remove them so that we can keep creating as founders. And as we're wrapping up here, this is exclusively for founders doing north of 150K per month. Anything beyond that point, until you're at that point, you have to get to a certain threshold to realize how your output is dragging you back as you start to manage and oversee more and more people, more and more teams, more and more responsibilities, higher offer structure, etc. This is the point where it really gets crisp and something like this makes sense. If you're not at that point yet, it's fine, don't worry, like keep grinding, keep chipping away, use the black book assets that I've linked down below. But the biggest thing that you need to consider here is that this is the #1 thing you need to be solving for. Any other aspect, if that's doubling down and working more, if that's hiring a new sales rep, is simply a distraction away from you taking on the responsibility and solidifying your future and your business, because you're constantly at a push and pull with all of these things that I've mentioned, whether or not I solve them for you. You're the one that's going to have to wake up every single day, battle your high cortisol, battle your cooked insulin, wake up, deal with your shitty back, order Uber Eats or cook an okay meal, but not know what you're doing. We can all admit that it's fine to not know what you're doing, but these things are not going to go away. They're very difficult to deal with, and you don't have time to deal with them. And you have to remove them in order to continue to guarantee that growth. So if you're a founder between 150 plus, 1 million plus ARR, this is for you. All the assets, everything that you need is down below. Check out our Instagram as well as our website for more of our case studies and information on the offer. And I hope to see you soon.